What time is it, Dave?
I think it's a podcast o'clock.
Podcast o'clock. Once again, this isn't our first rodeo with this episode, is it, Dave?
Oh no, it's not.
No.
That's why I did a far simpler introduction. This is another one because you made fun of me.
Yeah. But should we go through what happened?
I'll let you do the honors.
There was a bit of a mixture of everything. There was a bit of connections being terrible internet wise. Noise from other surrounding areas, which just ended up in 10 minutes of stuff that just sounded terrible and pretty much sounded terrible. I was going to say looked terrible, but it's not really a visual thing, is it? But no, we're back. We're doing the episode.
Yeah. Thankfully, we weren't too far into that episode.
Yeah, it was only 10 minutes at least.
Yeah.
We won't talk about the infamous episode 8.
I don't think we should ever allude to that again. That was like
the reason we
against
stopped for 5
Geneva
months.
Convention, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. There's the reason
it was
we
that
stopped.
bad.
Well, like I remember saying to you, I was saying to you and Adam, I was like, for first year, the 1 year anniversary, I'll upload that episode, and I listened back to it, and it was awful. I was like, oh yeah, no, this can never be seen, ever listened. It is just, it's so bad. It is the worst thing we've ever done. I hope that I probably will release it as on like April Fool's Day or something someday.
Yeah. Well, it was just a case of we didn't know what we were doing and we didn't know what we were talking about.
Yeah, we had no interest in what we were saying.
Yeah, there was no structure to it or anything, and it was just
a failure.
It was a shambles. Like it was.
How many times did we say, "No, can we just restart this? Can we just stop this now?"
Yeah.
It was awful. It was the
It
worst
must have
thing
been
ever.
in the double digits. Like
It's not good. And I was listening back. I was like, "There's no way this could ever."
Oh,
be
there's no
released.
redeemable factor of it.
Well, not just that.
Yeah.
It was also the
like
fact that
I haven't listened to it.
Go on.
No, I was just gonna say I haven't listened to it or anything like that, but I just remember from that day how horrible it was.
Oh yeah, we all just were like, "No, we can't do this," and we'll take a break. And then that break was 5 months long.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, tangent over. We're talking about the Predator, or not the Predator. We're talking about Predator, Predator 2, Predators, and
No, just
and the Predator, David.
the lovely trilogy. No, we don't need to go to that one.
Sadly, we have to talk
Just
about it.
Damn it.
Well, for those wondering, what we're going to do is we're not talking about Alien vs Predator or Alien vs Predator Requiem, because what we're going to do is we're doing Predator first. Why did we do Predator first? Actually, now I think about it.
I think we were just in the mood for it.
Yeah, because I kind of wanted to watch them.
That's usually how a lot of these podcasts go. Me and you. Yeah, because I think me and you were talking, and then I think I brought up Predator.
And I'd
then
never
I got
seen
in
the
mood for
original.
it. Well, I mean, you haven't. The only ones you've seen is Predator 2 and The Predator, isn't it? If I'm correct.
Well, yeah, because it's kind of
So, I
weird.
mean-
in that sort of way that's my
Yeah, like.
viewing of the franchise in a way.
I mean, especially not seeing the first one, I find that a bit shocking. I find that very surprising,
Yeah.
especially if you've seen Predator 2 before. Like I think as far as I know, the Predator 2 I think is the most hidden one. I don't think many people.
Yeah, it
have
is
seen
the
that
most
one
forgotten,
Predator
I
ones.
think, of the entire
Yeah.
franchise.
I think it's because, well, excluding the Predator, I think it's out of them three movies, I think it's the most different,
Yeah.
just because of the entire
Environment-wise.
setting alone.
Yeah,
Yeah, and even the actual subplot and everything, the way it deals with more police than spec
Yeah.
ops teams and stuff like that, or just military personnel. I think it was just a very weird setting for a sequel,
Yeah.
so it just didn't gather as much attention.
Well, yeah, because I mainly sort of associate the just the Predator franchise in general with Alien vs Predator, because that's how I was introduced to the Predator franchise, was Alien vs Predator, and I had seen Alien films prior to that, and I'm a big Alien fan. I think we
Yeah.
differ in this. I'm a big Alien fan. You're a big Predator fan. In that kind of a way, because
Well,
what were you gonna say?
Yeah, I think it was more circumstances though,
Oh yeah, because like you
because
watched the Predator franchise when you were younger,
like
and I
I
watched
never, I
Alien
was
franchise
never,
when I was younger.
yeah, like yeah, because my dad's like a big fan of like 80s action
Mm.
movies and stuff like that. Anything with like Arnold or Stallone and stuff like
Mm.
that. So like I did watch the first Predator when I was younger, and I thought, oh my god, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But like I it was more of a case of I just never had the chance to watch Aliens until recently, until
Yeah.
watch the Alien movies until recently. Was just because I was never really up for it because I'm not a big horror fan in a
Yeah.
way
Yeah. Yeah.
until kind of now. I'd be more a fan of like horror games than I would films.
Mm.
But whenever it comes to stuff like Alien, I think that's like the good type of horror to me.
Mm.
But anyway, no, like it was just just because I grew up with the Predator films, I was just kind of I just have a very big fondness for them
Yeah, you're accustomed
because
to them in a way.
I've seen them that many times.
But
Yeah.
no, because like I didn't really say properly, but we're gonna do Predator franchise episode. Then we're gonna do an Alien franchise episode, and then we're gonna end it off with Alien vs Predator, as a big finale.
Yeah, nice sweet bow to wrap it all up.
Yeah, but like I think the main reason, well, there's actually two reasons I want to do the Predator franchise today. One was, Venom was meant to be out now, but it also is out now, but not where we are. So
Not for all, sadly.
yeah, so this was to kind of tie us over until that comes out, next week.
Yeah, and we were kind of just yeah. It's kind of a case of we were just chatting about the Predator films before,
Yeah,
and the fact that you haven't seen them and stuff, and I was kind of bringing them up, and then I was like, oh, I might just go rewatch them again,
yeah.
and then I think you kind of came to that same idea, and then we kind of just this is how a lot of the podcast episodes come up, like our topics. We usually just chat about a random thing, and then we get a notion to watch it, and then we're like, oh god, we need to talk about this.
Yeah. It's just, oh yeah, we've a lot to talk about. We'll just leave this for another date, sort of a thing. Like, Dread,
Yeah, that was a big one.
RoboCop,
That was a-
Bioshock. They all kind of bleed into one.
Oh yeah.
But no, because I think, and the other reason was obviously the secret Predator film, Predator 5, which was secretly filmed uh, this year, last year-ish, called Skulls, which we'll get into later. I think we'll leave that as sort of like a closer, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of interesting things I want to tell you, which you don't already know about.
Yeah, I don't know much about it. As far as I know, I think I just know the name
Mm.
from what you've told me. And that's really about it.
Because
So I'm quite interested.
I've only found out, like, stuff has come out about it only in the past couple of days. So it's very kind of fresh in terms of
Oh.
what it's about. So I just
Yeah.
wanted to hear your reaction. I think I'm liking it myself. I like the sort of concept, but
As
well-
long as it's nothing like the Predator, I am happy.
no, don't worry. It's not like that.
Okay, good.
It couldn't be more opposite. Let's just say
As far as I'm concerned as well, it cannot be as bad as that film.
no. But we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll probably just talk about these one at a time. So Predator, Predator 2, and then
Mm.
Predators, and then The Predator, and then Predator 5, but yeah, no, Predator. So I had never seen this, which was kind of weird because
Yeah.
I had seen all these 80s kind of action films. Your Terminators, your Aliens, for example.
Yeah.
But
Which is why I find it quite surprising the fact that you've never seen it, because it is such a big name.
oh yeah, it's such a like everyone has seen this film, but
yeah,
me
everyone
apparently
knows
before
what
this.
a Predator is.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
But no, it's. I think my only problem with this is I wish I had watched it when I was 10, because I think I would have
Yeah.
appreciated it and enjoyed it more.
Oh yeah.
Because that's kind of when you watch all these types of films, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, because whenever you watch them now, you can notice how like dated they can be.
And they fall apart almost, yeah.
Yeah, you kind of notice the flaws more with them now, but if you had to watch them at the time, or if you're a child, you wouldn't have noticed them as much.
Yeah.
So you would have had that better view of it. Like me, I since I watched it when I was younger, I actually, even watching it again, like I watched it a few days ago, I still enjoyed every minute of it.
Yeah. Because, like, I hadn't known much about the film. Well, actually, I thought I knew more about this film than I actually did.
Yeah.
Especially that ending, which I was like, oh, fuck. Well, just not even the ending, the whole final third act, the big battle.
Yeah.
I sort of knew it, but I didn't, if you know what I mean. Like, I knew
Yeah.
about it, and I knew certain things that happened in it, but I never actually saw it, for example, or knew what exactly happened. Which I was very shocked at after watching. I was like, oh, fuck, this is actually pretty fucking cool. Which is
Yeah.
obviously the best part of the fucking film, I think.
Well, the way I look at it is, to me, I can understand why a lot of people wouldn't like the first act.
Myself.
I love, yeah. See, I love
Yeah.
it because I think it's a nice contrast because you get to see like what they're like just in a normal situation compared to what they are in like this completely like just out of this world scenario where they're being hunted by an alien. So I do like it for that reason, but I will say that the second and third act are whenever the movie really, really picks up, whenever they actually start like having interactions with the predator,
Yeah.
whenever like that whole stuff starts happening. I think it just starts ramping up quite progressively.
Because, like, I think one of the biggest faults from this film, which was sort of fixed in later on in the franchise to a degree, and I told you this before, was the fact that when you see the predator, it's in the invisible cloak mainly.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with them showing the heat vision, because
Yeah.
that's cool. That's from the perspective of the
Oh,
of the
yeah,
predator,
that-
and you don't know what it looks like. But when you
Yeah,
see the invisible thing, and it's not even properly its sort of shape.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of the fact that the visual effects for the invisibility do not hold up at all from
No.
the first one, but the infrared like predator vision just looks great, which is one of the big things. Like if it had been a case of it was just like a shimmer, like you saw like a shimmer of it in
Yeah.
the trees, compared to like having the camera focus on this kind of like weird transparent blob.
Well, I even think, imagine, and it's sort of like even like talking about like the Invisible Man, the film, where that came out 2020. Really good film, very
Yeah.
good psychological thriller. But imagine that there's just nothing there, and it is just a bunch of trees.
Yeah.
And just the
Yeah.
eeriness of not being able to see anything is more terrifying. And imagine you did that, then you cut to its perspective with the heat vision. You'd be like, where the fuck is it? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Um,
But at the same time, I don't think that would work as well for the actual action.
oh, no. I understand what you mean by
That's-
that,
that-
yeah.
Like, I think that would be good. I think it's something that actually Predator 2 and Predators do better, the invisibility. I think they
Yeah.
managed that a lot better than the actual first film.
Well, I think that's just mainly because this film, and you wouldn't really notice it. I think you know when you're told that there was a lot of production issues, especially with the
Oh,
creature of the Predator.
Yeah.
Where it was this, Jean-Claude Van Damme was originally in the costume, and it was this kind
Yeah,
of
the big
bug
orange bug
alien.
suit.
Yeah, it was sort of like, if you've ever seen the movie Ants, it was
Oh,
sort
dear
of like one of them, but in human
Yeah.
form almost. And then obviously
Yeah.
Van Damme was like, what the fuck's the point? You don't see my face.
Yeah. Well, I think that was a big problem with those movies at the time.
I should say these action,
the-
isn't it?
Yeah, it was because like especially if you're in a movie with someone like Arnold and you're there, but no one's going to see your face. And in the
What's the
80s,
point?
people had to see your face because like if you're a big name, you have to show them.
Yeah.
Which I can understand why Van Damme would have quit.
Yeah, because that's like something we talked about in like Judge Dredd, for example.
Oh yeah,
Episode
that's a
where
good
it's
way
like-
of looking at it.
I understand why they took Stallone's mask off, because he's your fucking star.
Yeah,
Um,
and especially at that time, you needed to have them like front and present.
the action man.
Like,
you
Yeah.
needed the action man.
you needed that to sell the movie, like at that time.
That was the face. Have you ever seen the fucking poster for the Predator? Or for Predator? It's just Arnold with a gun.
Yeah,
That's it,
yeah.
like,
Yeah,
like, the poster for Predator 2 isn't Danny Glover, it's a poster of the fucking Predator.
yeah.
That's the difference.
Well, I think it's because Predator 2 was the 90s, wasn't it?
1990, yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of at that time I think they kind of shifted away from, the big action
Oh yeah,
person to more of this recognizable feature.
but I also think it's because the character of the Predator was this icon at that stage. Then,
Yeah, I
even in
think
its
it.
second film.
Yeah, because something like the Predator, like the actual character of it, or the actual, just that thing in general,
Mm.
would have surpassed Arnold throughout the years.
Yeah,
Like no matter what, you can't get Arnold to come back for a movie every time, but you can get a
you can just
Predator
heavily CG him.
costume.
DH
Yeah,
him.
like,
No, I know
and
what you mean. Yeah.
especially that shift into the 90s, you can tell that a lot of like big name actors of the 70s and 80s were kind of all shifting out because
Mm.
the studios, I would say, instead of relying on the big frontman, relied on the actual franchise of something,
Yeah, well, I think it was
or
like
like just
Stallone was
that gimmick.
talking about. It was Batman '89 killed the Action Man
Mm.
because you didn't need to be this
Yeah.
muscular man. You could just be an actor in a suit with muscles painted on it.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
and he sort of ties that into
Yeah.
being the '90s was the transition phase of right. We're getting rid of the Action Man, you know.
Yeah.
And then by the end of
Because
the
I mean, look
'90s,
at
early 2000s, look, it was just people in costumes at that stage, like.
and then yeah, and it was also franchises getting what like 10 films each
Yeah.
because they knew that the actual property itself was so popular compared to the actual actor.
Hmm. And you could replace the actor and no one would give a fuck. Until years later
Yeah.
when they complain.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Um,
It's only kind of now, like the past few years, that we're seeing that kind of crop up again, where they're remaking movies but having the original actors
yes.
in a way.
Yes, yes.
I think it's kind of just this.
Something we'll
these
get
past
into
few
later.
years Mm.
The Predator.
Yep.
um,
Yep.
but yeah, no, Predator, it's... I enjoy it for what it is. I don't think it's the
Oh
best
yeah.
80s action film out there. I think there's even better films within this
Mm.
franchise. But I do
Yeah.
like it as a start where not much is explained and it is kind of like, what the fuck
Oh
do you
yeah.
do in this situation? I kind of like that sort of... it reminds me of kind of like the ending... That ending battle is very similar to the ending of Blade Runner, to me. Where it is this fight between two
Yeah.
individuals, you know, and it is this kind
Yeah.
of like man versus, well, not man versus machine, but man versus, you know, alien life form that is smarter than him,
Yeah.
essentially. And using his
Well, I
own
think
kind of guerrilla warfare and skill to beat him.
Yeah. Well, I think it's also the fact that, like, there's so much open to like interpretation with this movie because you don't have that person like in a Star Wars film or just most
Mm.
other like sci-fi films at the time, just giving you exposition on
Mm.
what the alien or what the predator is and what their motives are, but instead you kind of get hints to that, but through the movie itself,
Mm.
like you kind of like you see the predator take trophies before they explain it.
Yeah.
I think if I remember correctly.
No, that's true, yeah.
Yeah. So then you kind of already get the idea that it's not just like some, like just generic 80s, 90s horror movie villain like a Jason Voorhees where it's killing for the sake of killing. It's more killing to take trophies then, which gives that more bit of mystical aspect to it where
Yeah.
you kind of get a hint to a culture behind it. But the fact that the movie doesn't explain the culture outright to you, I think really kind of leaves an open book for that character, so it's up to interpretation.
Oh yeah, and like I think the sequels did a good job of expanding that and answering your questions,
Yeah.
like a good sequel does in a
Yeah.
way.
Oh yeah.
Most namely the second film, I think.
Well, the second one definitely develops a lot of the tech and the actual.
Yeah.
It does it well where it does give you that, especially near the end, it gives you that extra glimpse into what their culture and race is like, but it doesn't tell you and it doesn't make it the focal point of the whole movie. It's just a little thing at the end that gives you a little bit more clarity, which I think makes you appreciate it more.
Oh, it's something that the following two films I feel sort of, I don't know.
I think
It sort of delved
Predators.
too much into, I think.
See, I don't think Predators did it too bad. I think Predators did it very well. I think that's, to
Oh,
me,
Dave,
in my own opinion, I think it did it the same way as 2.
we will get into that because
Yeah, yeah.
you know the Predator. I'll just tease this now, but you know the Predator.
Yeah.
The whole idea of that film spawned from Predators, and
Oh,
it was
no.
only they cut it out last minute. But we'll move on.
Oh no.
We'll move on. That's just a wee teaser for you,
Didn't know
Dave.
that.
Yeah, I don't think there's much to say about the first film really, because it's a
I
very
mean,
just standard
it's
action
it's
film
just
with a couple of twists.
it's just a classic. They
yeah,
kind of set up a nice universe. Like the first act is basically just your Commando situation where it's just a bit of an action movie, like your stereotypical like 80s action movie, but to me it feels a bit of like a satire in a way of it.
yeah. Mainly at the start,
Because-
where I'm just like,
Yeah.
okay, this cannot be serious. This has to be a satire.
Yeah.
you know.
It feels like a satire, and then the only part then whenever it breaks out of that satire, whenever it gets into like the second act, whenever like they finish up with the action thing and they get Anna, I think it is,
Yeah.
and then they start to realize something's going horribly wrong. Then that's whenever the satire kind of switches itself off, and then you get a completely different movie because then it goes from all these cool 80s action heroes, like they're just doing military stuff. Then it just switches, and then they all kind of like completely switch characters. Like Mac, I think it's Mac, the guy with the minigun.
Yeah.
Like he starts off and he's really like tough and everything. He's like
He just starts cracking.
kind of. Yeah, like he
Yeah.
starts like threatening Carol Weathers, like
Yeah,
and all
yeah.
like that, because you think he has his head together and stuff, and then he's like I think the only one to properly start going insane, like starts talking to himself and starts seeing stuff in the trees and stuff, and that's whenever you realize, oh god, they are just falling apart. But I think it does it so well where you actually kind of, it's a more believable way of falling apart.
I think
Or
it's a
they
very
just don't
kind of
know
character-driven
what to
film,
Do
if you know what I mean.
yeah.
Whereas these
Yeah.
characters are just like
Well, each character kind of
they go through their own kind of traumas in a way.
yeah, like they all kind of go out in a way, like they do kind of go out in their own ways, each of them.
Yeah.
So they do, but it's like a lot of it can be their own fault in a way. Like Mac it kind of separates off because he wants to hunt it down because it killed, what do you call him?
Fuck off, cowboy hat boy.
Yeah,
Brendan
he
Fraser
kills
wannabe.
him, and then he. I can't remember his name or the actor's name, but yeah, kills him. So then Mac kind of starts going even more insane. So he kind of separates off, and then someone like Billy, because I think Billy's the only one that is actually gets like a good death in a way, because he cops on, I think, to what the Predator's doing. Because so then that's whenever he tries to fight it with the machete. Because I think he kind of realizes, he's like the only one that kind of realizes before Arnold does later on, that like, well, I mean, he's kind of buying them time as well, kind of.
Yeah.
But he like kind of realizes that it wants a challenge. So then he personally goes to have a one-on-one with it, and then that's whenever you see the Predator, instead of skinning them or just taking the skull, instead you see it just rip out the spine as well.
Yeah. Despite
Because it
yeah,
gave
it's
him a
it's
good
that
fight.
and the skull. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
and as well as
attached.
that, you don't actually. I think he's the only character that you don't properly see die. And he's the only character that actually, like, has a fair fight with the Predator,
Yeah.
which I find quite interesting. Like, he doesn't have like this big gruesome death. You just hear him scream, but you do see his spine and head ripped out.
No, I think there is sort of for a film that was this kind of juggle production wise, it did pay off. I think.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Especially for a first film, like in a franchise.
well, because a lot of people don't know the production issues of that film.
Oh yeah, like a lot of them don't know anything about like the original design or anything
Yeah.
like that.
Like I think that just goes to show how well they sort of dressed it up in the end, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I think we're done with the first film. Eh? Let's move on to Predator 2.
Oh yeah. Probably one of my favorite shots in the entire series.
Which
since
one?
The start of this movie.
Oh yeah, of cinema, David.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? I just love cinema in general. Right, you go on, you explain it.
So yeah, the first movie is set in this Amazon jungle and stuff. So whenever the second movie opens up, of course you have this panning shot of
The
what looks to
music.
be a jungle.
Music's
Yeah,
playing, yeah, yeah.
with this really class music,
Yeah.
and it starts playing. You think, oh, okay, we're going back to the jungle, and then no, it just pans up to like this foresty kind of jungle outside outside LA, and you just get the shot of LA at its side
Yeah.
from the jungle and everything, and it's just so cool.
It's no a
It's
lovely surprise, isn't it?
yeah,
I mean,
it's like
you
a
know
nice way
going
of,
in, but it is this kind of cool opening shot.
it's like a wee nod in a way to like, okay, we know the first one was in a jungle, but now
Mm.
we're in the city.
Well,
It is.
that's something I didn't even discuss about the first one, but you know, Alan Silvestri did the soundtrack for this film, for the first Predator film.
Yeah.
Alan Silvestri known for doing the Judge Dredd soundtrack.
Wait, really?
Yeah,
Oh
doing
my
the
God.
Avengers soundtrack.
Oh my god. I had
Infinity
no
War
idea.
and Endgame as well.
Jesus.
Big name, let's just say.
Yeah.
But sorry, I just had to throw that in because I forgot to mention it. But I didn't want
I
to.
had no idea.
I didn't want to continue without it being said. But just picture that opening dramatic theme music playing. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
It's such a treat. So it is. But yeah, no, it's a very weird sequel because I think mainly because of just the complete opposite setting
But I love that about
in a
it.
way.
It's such a smart
Yeah.
thing to do because it's
Oh no, I do
basically a
like
cop film with the Predator in
Yeah.
it. You know what I
it.
mean?
Yeah.
And I really like
Well,
that
that's
where there's this big massive, you can see the city and there's a big, such a good opening. That's what it's. I think what made me hate the first Predators opening was this opening because this opening is just so massive scale. This is probably
oh
the
the big
best.
gang war.
Oh, this is probably the best opening of the whole franchise.
Really?
Even better than Predators because Predators' opening's a bit sort of wonky CG that hasn't aged well at the start.
Yeah, I know what you
Um,
mean.
And it's kind of like,
No,
wait, what
it
the
is a
fuck?
nice setting because it's just absolute chaos.
Oh yeah, because it sets
Yeah,
the
it's
scene
just complete
perfectly.
chaos. You're like, oh god.
Yeah. Oh right, there's
Yeah.
gang wars going on. You
Look-
find out everything in that. You find out right, there's big gang wars
Oh
going
yeah.
on. The Predators
LA
here,
is
he's
in
hunting
shambles.
gangs. Yeah.
Well,
Danny
it
Glover's this
makes
kind of
sense
like
as well.
like Danny Glover's this cop that's just kind of bends the rules to his own will to try and
Yeah, he's
clean
kind
up
of
the
just
city.
fed up with everything.
Yeah, like you know,
Yeah.
you sort of you're introduced to these characters straight away in this big massive fucking set piece.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then you obviously get the rivalry between Danny Glover and I don't know his character's name. It's just Danny Glover. So Danny Glover, you get this conflict between him and the Predator straight away because he takes the
Oh,
Predator's
yeah.
kill.
Yeah, it's like that. It kind of forms a rivalry through it, where because I look at it in a way where it's like, the Predator wants to hunt down the best of the best, and I think in that opening scene he sees Danny Glover's character as a really good, fighter. So I think he kind of picks him as his ultimate target, and then everything else is just trying to get at him in a way.
Cause yeah,
To
cause
maybe, I
like
don't know.
well, no, I completely agree. Because like, if you see straight away, Danny Glover, he isn't just it's kind of like he's Arnold at the end of the first film is Danny Glover at the start of this, and I think it's really good because we
Yeah.
expect someone to be like that from the start now because we've already
Yeah.
seen that at the end of the last one.
Oh yeah.
So to start with a character being not only just physically capable but smart at the same time because
Yeah.
he thinks about things and then he goes about and like does certain maneuvers in the kind of way to kind
Yeah.
of like fuck over people.
Well, I mean, he's trying to figure out who's killing all the people, but at the same time, he's also trying to figure out what the Gary Busey's character and them government
Oh.
characters are trying to do because he thinks that there's something up with that.
No, Dave. No, Dave. Because no one knows this, but I told Dave when I was just chatting to Dave, I was like, Dave, watch Predator 2, and he's on it, and you're like, who? I was like,
Yeah.
fucking Gary Busey's in it. If you wanted a cop film in the late 80s, early 90s, you had to have Gary Busey in it as the dickhead.
Yeah.
You know, he's kind
Yeah.
of, he must have that like signed in his contract, right? If there's any roles going for this type of character, I have to get them. But you just see his little smile straight away, and I was like, oh
Yeah.
fuck, you're in this film.
To be honest, though, I don't think he's bad in the film. I think he's
Oh no, I
actually
don't think
quite
he's
good.
bad. I'm just sick of seeing Gary Busey. But yeah, no, I think even you're 100% right. Like their conflict's very interesting. Gary Busey's conflict with just that kind of like triangle almost in a way between the
Yeah.
Predator, Gary Busey's character, and Danny Glover. That whole triangle's very interesting.
One thing as well is I think it's even more interesting on the Predator's part, the fact that he's puck out this the fact that the Predator has puck out this person to basically just start fucking around with instead of
Yeah.
actually just going to kill them.
Straight away.
I think
yeah.
it adds a lot more like more of a personality aspect to like each Predator. Like, you know, in the first one, the Predator was just slowly killing them off one by one and just trying to pick out each target and like try and get a challenge from them. But this here Predator is more like sadistic in a way, where he's just kind of going after every person that Danny Glover's interacted with
pretty
in
much,
order
yeah.
just to get at him, which I think is great. The fact that they actually do give them different personalities in these two films, that kind of separates them out. Like they could have just had another, they could have just repeated it where it's the same character, and he's just hunting them down like while they're in a group.
Oh
And it's
yeah,
just
I'm
they're
very
killing each-
surprised they didn't do that. Like I'm even surprised
Yeah, like,
they didn't
I-
even get Arnold back.
I was surprised that, yeah, because whenever they were at the start, you know, when they had the new cop, and whenever I saw it, like whenever I was rewatching it, because Predator 2 is one of the films I remembered the least about.
I think it's
But
probably
I
one
was
of the most
kind of-
underrated of the four.
Oh, it's definitely underrated. Yeah, it's definitely underrated. But I thought that whenever they had introduced the new cop that's joining their team, I thought that, oh, okay, they're gonna have this team, and then maybe some of Gary Busey's guys and Gary Busey go in, because maybe I was thinking maybe they'll find out too much, and then he'll just get them to come with him.
Yeah.
But I was kind of, it was one thing I completely forgot about, was the fact that the Predator was just going after them whenever they were just isolated, like, which I thought was very interesting.
Oh yeah, I think the Predator in this film it has to be smarter because
Yeah.
it's not in a jungle. It's in
Yeah.
you know
It's in a city, like, it's
yeah
in
it's
a densely populated
the
area.
Predator's out of its comfort zone
Yeah.
and it's trying to utilize it to its own kind of good in a way.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's kind of drawn there because of the violence, and it knows that there's going to be good
Yeah,
hunting targets.
and the heat wave.
And the heat wave. That's one thing we need to say as well, is the fact that predators mainly hunt in warm climates, which is expressed in, I think, every movie.
Even Alien vs Predator when they go to the Arctic.
Yeah, that was very weird.
I wonder if
was
it's
very
explained
weird.
in that. I wonder if it
I
is
need to
explained.
watch it and see. I
Because
think
they
it
are
might be-
wearing like thick armor, so unless it's like heat
I think
protected
it might
or-
be the case that that the alien is such a big target and such. I think they kind of know the stakes of what an alien is,
Yeah.
so that they have to go after it. So they don't worry about the climate or anything. It's something that they need to take out because they know how dangerous those things are.
Oh yeah, because like I think it's almost used as a trial in that film, where the
Yeah.
aliens are used as trials to like see who is like an actual good predator or not, and who's worthy
Yeah.
of the title. So I think
Oh,
that's
yeah.
I think that's kind of
think-
why, but
Yeah, I think that's like one of the ultimate targets.
yeah, because it
Like,
only
that's like the
happens like
pinnacle.
every couple of 100 years or something in that film. No, 1,000 years maybe. I think it's something
What
like
is it?
that in the film. They explain.
Wait, what happens every 1,000 years?
Oh, like that event, like the predators come to fight the aliens
Oh,
every
yeah.
1,000
Well,
years
yeah.
or something. It's something like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. There was a nice reference to that in Predator 2 as well.
Yes, well, I think that was the start. I think that was them setting up because.
Oh, no, it wasn't a reference to Alien vs. Predator. I mean, it
Oh,
was just
no.
a nice wee nod to the fact that, you know, they have fought, so that could happen.
Oh
Because,
no,
you know,
I
that-
think that was a nod towards. I think the whole point of that was them teasing the crossover.
Oh, do you think so?
Oh yeah, I
Oh,
think
no,
that was.
I think it was as well.
I just
It
think.
was kind of just a wee nod that it could happen, like.
Well, I find it amazing that it took them so long to do that crossover. Because
Well, I mean, yeah.
after this, there wasn't a Predator film, a solo Predator film, for 20 years.
Yeah, 20 Predators came out in 2010,
2010. Yeah,
2011. Yeah, and
20
this was what,
years.
1990. Yeah, and then it was 10 years
Yeah.
before that, wasn't it? The first Predator came out.
No, 87.
Oh, was it?
It was late in the
Oh yeah, it
game.
was. Yeah, I just realized that they say 10 years in the film to whenever. I think it's 10 years
Vietnam.
after the. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, it's a 10-year gap between the settings.
yeah.
I just immediately thought that that was just in real world times. I
Oh,
didn't know it
right.
was that close.
Yeah, no, 87. It was kind of like I kind of like was like really. I thought it was like early 80s, but no, it was
I so did
87.
I. I thought that. Yeah, it's quite weird as well because such a big franchise, but there's only what, well,
There was only two
three.
films for
Yeah, there was only two films, and then
20
20
years.
years. Yeah, it's so weird, 'cause especially the way a lot of franchises are going now, where you have Friday the 13th with like what, like 100 films at this rate,
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
or even like what I would say would be a big competitor to Predator, which would be Alien, having what, like 6 films.
Alien. Let me think. Four. Yeah, you're right. Six. Yeah.
Yeah,
At the minute,
it's quite hard.
anyways.
Yeah. Well, I suppose I think it would be quite hard to make a Predator movie, having to find the setting and stuff, because you wouldn't want to have to keep going back to the jungle.
Yeah. Well, I think that's something that I have a problem with.
Yeah,
Well, I just
it
hate the
does
fact
limit
that it's
it.
just like, oh, jungle.
Well, I think that's why they
Fuck
say like
me.
I think that's why they keep mentioning the heat and the heat wave is just to make it more believable.
I
In a
know
way,
what you
where you're
mean.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I can get it. Like I can get why you're out of the jungle.
Yeah. Well, I think that was something they kind of fucked up with the first film, where they said that,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, you can't go back in that now. If you know what I mean, you've limited
Yeah.
yourself. Um.
Especially with how much of a classic it is, you wouldn't want to retcon that.
Oh yeah. Well, I think it's kind of weird because like the only reason I give kind of like the Alien franchise kind of passes, even though they visit very, similar settings and stuff. I think because like every film's almost like a different subgenre, where like the first film's a
Yeah.
horror, second film's like a Vietnam War film, the third
Hmm.
one is your prison film, where it's set in a
Yeah.
prison. Your fourth one is your weird action comedy about a group, right?
Yeah.
And then you have your two prequels. So I think that's why I kind of give it a pass because it's like, well,
Well,
they
at
are
the same
different
time,
genres.
with the Alien franchise, they didn't limit themselves. They didn't have some offshoot comment being like, "Oh, the alien can only survive in
Oh yeah,
cold climates" or something like that,
yeah,
which
yeah, yeah.
basically means no matter where the alien goes, it can do whatever it wants.
Yeah, and the fact that it's set in space and it's not grounded by being on
Yeah,
Earth. Set now,
yeah.
it's set in the future, so you can be like, oh yeah, we're on a different planet or whatever. You know,
Well, they did get away with that in Predators.
we'll get to that.
I don't think you're gonna like what I have to say about
No, I know.
Predators,
I
but
think
if we
we're
get
going to
to it,
disagree, but no, I think we're not going to disagree with that. I think we're going to
yeah.
disagree with other things. Uh, but yeah, no, Predator
Oh
2,
yeah, definitely.
easily my favorite. I have to say, no, I genuinely still think that's my favorite one.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, no. Whenever I rewatched it, I definitely wasn't giving it the praise it deserved beforehand. I thought it was very underrated after rewatching it. Like
because no one talks about
I
that
was
film.
surprised by how good it was.
You know what I
No,
mean?
oh no.
Because like I
One
love
thing I
like,
wasn't the biggest fan of though was I I I know it's the main setting of the film, but I think there was a bit too much police stuff going on
oh yeah, are
because
you?
to me it kind of whenever they started to juggle a bit of too many things, it kind of started to I was kind of like, oh, maybe you could kind of drop the police stuff a wee bit, like whenever they're trying to juggle like the police stuff, the Predator, and then they kind of start doing the spec op stuff, and then they kind of
Oh
experiment
yeah,
on
it
all.
is a mixture of a lot. I think that's kind of
Yeah,
like it's sort of at the end of the second act where there's like five things going on, and then
yeah.
they
I think if they
drop.
had dropped a few of them.
Well, I think the problem is they kind of drop them all very quickly, and then there's only one sort of mission left
Yeah,
essentially, and that's why I think the
yeah.
third act is a great kind of focusing point.
Oh yeah.
Because I
It's a great
think,
fight as well. It's a great.
well, I think
Sorry, go
it's the
on.
complete different. It's completely different to. It's like the opposite of the first Predator film because
Yeah,
Danny Glover's chasing the Predator. The Predator's running away. It's not
Well, yeah.
the other way about.
Well,
You
the
know.
Predator only starts really running away whenever he gets his arm cut off.
Yeah.
Because at that point,
Oh
he
yeah, but there's still
knows
like
he's
20
got,
minutes left.
Oh yeah. I think as well the fact that the Predator just knew he needed to get out of that building because of the amount of stuff they were messing it up with. Like,
Oh yeah, he was kind of like, well, it was after his bomb fucked up. He was like, oh fuck, right, back to the spaceship, you know,
yeah,
because he got his arm cut off. He's like,
I need to run.
yeah. Well, I do want to say, speaking
Yeah.
of Predator,
That's
I do
something I
want to give like a wee shout out to Kevin Peter Hall, who played the Predator in the first and second film, who sadly passed
Yes.
away a year after the second one released.
Yeah.
Far too young. I think he's 35. Very young.
Really? Oh god.
Yeah. Complications with AIDS. He was in a car crash and he got blood transfusion, but that's how he contracted AIDS. Then.
Oh no.
So he was probably
Yeah.
actually for this film. He was basically had AIDS and he was still, you know, he might not have known,
Yeah.
but he was still performing essentially.
Yeah.
Like, which you know.
Quite sad.
Oh yeah, well I think that's also probably why there was a big gap, because he was known for
Oh,
playing the
maybe,
Predator.
yeah,
Because it's something
yeah, I
the
didn't
rest
think
of the
about
Predator
that.
films have not been able to replicate. He was 7'1" or 2. You know,
Yeah.
that's why the Predator looks massive in those first two films, and then
Yeah.
when it comes to like Alien vs Predator and Predators, it's a lot shorter because it's played by like 6 foot. Not that 6 foot whatever is small. It's just not 7'2" essentially.
I
So-
think as well. I think in Predators there is a bit of a height difference for the sake of the fact that they kind of explain that there's subspecies
Yeah.
of the.
Oh no,
Predator, so
even then they were
I
only
think
like
they
6
made-
foot something.
Oh really?
Oh yeah, no, they weren't
Oh.
actually as tall as you think. I think that was mainly because it's probably the way it was shot and angles and stuff,
Yeah.
and the fact that you don't really
as well,
see
I
them
don't
as
think
much
you
in
really ever-
Predators.
Yeah, I was gonna say you don't really see them standing beside actual human-sized people
Yeah, it's more than
too
well,
often.
We'll get into that. In a minute.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, another thing about Predators 2 or
Predators 2.
I like to put out. Yeah, I will like to put out there that it was a nice way of giving the Predator like morals in a way.
How do you mean? Oh yes,
It kind of
yes.
shows you that they don't just kill everything and anyone.
Yeah,
Like with the kid in the cemetery with the toy gun. Like
Yeah.
he thinks it's a real gun, but then he realizes it's a toy, and then I think he kind of realizes it's a child as well, then doesn't bother. And as well as that with the female detective, whenever he kills everyone else on the train that has a gun,
yeah,
but he leaves her because she's pregnant,
yeah.
which I thought was very good because like, oh, he just doesn't kill for the sake. Like he will, you know. They do have like rules and morals in a way.
Yeah, it's something that the next
Which
film
I thought was a nice way-
breaks. Because of the
Yeah,
two, the
yeah.
two species. Because one species believes in this code, and one species believes in no code, and that's why they are
Yeah.
brutal.
I think yeah. Well, I mean, it's a way. I think it's because in that in Predators as well, you have the fact that they're going, even though some of them like what would call him, the doctor guy. I can't remember his name.
Which doctor guy?
He plays Venom in Spider-Man 3. I can't remember that.
Topher Grace.
Topher
I
Grace.
was like, who the
Yeah,
fuck are you
'cause I mean-
talking about?
Because I mean, it's the fact that he's not armed in that movie, but they still try to kill him, and he's quite
That-
defenseless.
Yes.
So you kind of know at that point, wait, there's something not right here, since
Yeah. Well, right. We'll wrap up Predator 2 and then we'll move on to that because there's a lot I think we both can discuss about
I
with
just
that.
point out one more thing.
About what? Predator 2?
Both of them.
Okay,
Both the
yeah.
first two movies.
Yeah.
I do love the fact that Predator can kind of mimic the voices.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you do, and you kind of see that whenever someone talks, they kind of analyze it.
Yeah, well, I thought that was really annoying in the first film because they don't use it really. They use
They
it, but
only
they
use
don't
it for
use
the
it
laugh.
properly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's more
They use it for the laugh
utilised.
and they use it for something else.
Yeah, it's utilised more in the second film where it's like, wait, what?
Oh, and Predators as well.
And Predators, yeah. 'Cause I think
oh,
it
the
was a very
second one's
overlooked thing.
terrifying. Like
Yeah.
whenever he starts talking, he's like, "Do you want a piece of candy?"
Yeah.
on the train. Whenever he's about to murder your man.
Yeah.
Like I remember watching it the other day, and I was like, "Oh God, imagine hearing that come from that monster."
You can
All
see
you
obviously
hear
doesn't
is
know what it
like a
means.
child's voice. Yeah,
Yeah.
you just hear a child's voice coming from it saying, "You want a piece of candy?" I would just shit myself right there in the spot, like.
Mm. Shout out to Bill
But
Paxton as well, obviously, the legend himself.
oh
Rest in
yeah,
peace. Late great.
yeah,
He will make another appearance in our Aliens episode.
yeah. But yeah, I do love the laugh at the end of Predator One.
Oh,
Even though it
yeah.
only happens in that first film, I think that laugh
I
going,
find it
the
so
laugh before,
weird. It's just like, wait, what? What the
I think
fuck?
I
It's very
think it's quite
haunting.
funny. Yeah, I think it's quite funny because I think he understands what the laugh means.
Yeah.
So he kind of does it as like, you might have got me, but I've got you in a
Yeah.
way. So because I think I think he kind of understands a bit of like the culture
Yeah.
already, so he already knows. Like, but I do think that it is quite weird that laugh is only in the first film whenever he does that. I think,
Mm.
but it's still, I think it is quite a big thing.
Yeah. Well, it's
Yeah,
something
it
they
is
never did
quite like
again. Not that I can remember, anyways. I don't think.
only time they ever do it again, Alex, is in Ghost Recon Wildlands. Whenever they have
I was
the
waiting how
Predator
long
mission.
this is going to take to crop up.
Yeah, well, I'll just put it out there for anyone that doesn't know. In Ghost Recon Wildlands, which I think is a fantastic game, they do have like a little mini DLC where it's a couple of missions where you're hunting down a predator, similar to the first film, where you're kind of going through the steps of tracking it down and it's killing all these people and all. Then you actually do fight it, but whenever you fight it, it sets off the bomb, like in the first film. But whenever it does that, you hear the same laugh, and you just have to run away. And I think that's the only ever time it happens again. But at the same time, I think that laugh that the Predator does is quite famous. Like it is quite it is a well known thing. I think. Well, like if you had have seen the movie, you would recognize it. But it's weird that it only happens in the first film.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why. Well, I assume I know why, because it was obviously it's a different creature, and you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I know how to explain that. I know
Oh,
what I
no, I
said
know,
there. But
It
no,
was just a wee tangent that I wanted to put in.
yeah, pretty much. Predator 2, yeah, no, I love that film.
Fantastic.
It's the one I'll probably go back and rewatch the most. I
To be
think.
fair, I don't think that there's a bad one out of the first three. I don't think any of them's properly
We'll
bad.
get to
You
that.
might correct me on that in Predators.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Right, Predators, right, you tell me. You start with Predators, and then I'll tell you why you're wrong.
Oh no.
No, you just
Put it on
start.
the
You just
spot.
start. Though.
Well, it's kind of like a Force Awakens in a way, where it's like a soft, it's like a spiritual reboot in a way where it's same premise but like different settings and different stakes. You know, you get all these different people with all these different military backgrounds, or they're just good killers. But instead of having them in a having them be like sent to a jungle to find out something that happened, they are airdropped onto this planet. They don't know where they are. They don't know how it happened. They don't know how they got there. They're just there. And then you later find out that it's a predator hunting planet. You kind of see them work it out as well, that they're being hunted by something, and it's only whenever they see the multiple planets
Yeah.
in the skyline that they realize, oh no, we are not where we're supposed
Yeah,
to
we're
be.
not on Earth.
Yeah, which is I think that it is a very good idea. So I do, because it's one of them things that saves you having to constantly rely on Earth. But I think it
Yeah.
is annoying that it's in a jungle. But at
Yeah.
the same time, I think if it had got a sequel like they alluded to at the end of it, they could have done different settings on the planet. Like maybe, I don't know, something completely alien in a way, which I would have liked to see. But yeah, I do love the film.
Well, yeah, yeah. No, go on.
No, it's a case of after rewatching it a couple of days ago, I really enjoyed it a lot more, to a point where I don't know if I like it. I like aspects of it more than the other two films. Just certain aspects, but I don't know. I'm a bit conflicted on my overall rating of the first three films.
Well, like I think when it comes to the third film, I think my kind of fault with it was very weird opening. Which is like, you know, to lands and stuff, and then you're like, oh, what the fuck? He meets two guys, and it's like, boom, Predator. Predator just comes up on the screen. It's like, oh, okay, this is a bit weird. Looks very good though, I have to say.
Yeah.
I think visually it does look good. I think there is some good
Yeah.
cinematography in there. Um,
There is a wee bit of wonkiness to it, but at the same time, I think most of it holds up,
yeah, I do agree.
especially for something that came out in 2010.
2010, yeah. I think it's
It
quite.
aged quite well.
Yeah, I think it's the way it was shot. I think
It
that's
aged
why.
Yeah, it aged better than The Predator, and that came out a couple of years ago. That didn't age well the day it released.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Like, I think it's something that we're starting to get now with these modern movies now, though.
Mm. No, I
Where
agree.
they're,
I
it's like they're
think.
relying too much on CG, but then a lot of it looks wonky. It doesn't look natural.
Yeah, I think that was something that kind of like came more into its own when it came to obviously, um, the Predator. Obviously, it just
Oh,
really
yeah.
annoys me that Larry Fong was the cinematographer for the Predator, and I think he's a really good cinematographer. Like he did
Yeah.
the cinematography for like 300 and Watchmen.
Oh, really?
And yeah, and Batman v Superman,
Mm.
Kong, Skull Island.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't.
So quite
it's
a
an
good
awful
list.
looking
Like,
film. Oh, you know, but The Predator is just an
yeah.
awful looking film.
I think a lot of that goes to the director, though, who we will talk about later
Yeah.
whenever we get to that. Because
Because he's in the first one,
very big disappointment. Yeah.
and everyone's excited. But no, anyways, Predators.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We'll
Yeah.
talk about that when we get to that. Anyway.
We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But no, Predators.
Yeah.
This was the one I was most excited for to watch because I had never
Was
seen
that just
it.
because it was the most recent? Oh.
Well,
Oh yeah.
yeah, it was
yeah.
one of the two I hadn't seen.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, yeah. I suppose you didn't. You've seen two and you've seen the Predator, but you kind of already had a gist of the first one.
yeah. So this was
But
kind of
this
like a
one,
blank slate
yeah.
for me. So I knew
Yeah.
nothing.
See,
Um,
I think that's why I got a lot more enjoyment out of it watching it a couple of days ago, was because I kind of already knew what happened, so I could keep
yeah,
up with it better.
yeah.
I think that it is something you might need to watch a second time just to kind of catch up on everything.
Well, yeah, because I think weirdly enough, there's really good casting in there. They just
Oh, I
fucking
don't think
kill
there's
them
a
off.
bad performance.
No, I know, but
So
it's
there isn't.
no, there's not a bad performance. I think so for Grace. Nah, he's doing all right.
Yeah, I think he did well.
He's just doing all right for what he has. I think that twist at the end ruins the
Yeah.
film a lot.
I don't think
No, because you just know
it
as soon as he
does,
holds up the
because you
picture,
do know there's something up because all these. Yeah, you know.
and I'm just like, and
That's
you know a
like, I
twist
think
is
that's a very good
coming.
giveaway.
I just wish it was written better.
See,
That twist.
yeah.
But even the twist isn't necessary because at that point you don't need that threat.
Kind of.
You know, like the threat is the predators at that stage.
Well, I think
or
it's
the
more of a
last
case
one.
he's a. No, I think it's a case of, since he knows he's going to die on the planet potentially, he's like, I'm going to get a one last victim. I'm going to get one last bit of enjoyment out of like killing someone, and it's going to be your woman, Isabella. Is it? So
I
you
don't know.
have
I
that
just don't think
aspect
the
of it.
twist
You have
works
that
at all.
threat where. See. I would disagree. I think it does because I think it's a nice payoff to it because you do know that there's something going on the whole way through, and then whenever he holds up the photo of the Russian guy's kids,
Yeah.
I think that's a dead giveaway where you're like, all right,
I know that, but I just kind of think I'm just
There's
like, if that
something.
character isn't there, it doesn't change the outcome of the film.
no, not really. You could have just had Isabella get injured by the predator.
Yeah. You
And
know,
it could
like
have worked out
I
the
just
same way,
think
but
it's
I-
so unnecessary, and they spend so much time with it that it just kind of ruins the pacing for me a
think-
bit.
I think one of the main things is I think they wanted more of a contrast between the actual human characters, more of like a fight between them
Oh, I know that
as
yeah.
well, where
Well,
you
you
get
have-
that aspect of all these people being thrown in
Yeah.
and they don't know what's happening. So you obviously you're going to get like fighting and everything. But I think they wanted more of like an unhinged aspect to it, where there's a character there that you don't know much about. You don't know like there's a reason why he's there, but he says he's a doctor as kind of like a support to them, where maybe the predators put him there as a medic. Could survive.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I do understand why so many people might not like that twist, because it is a case of you don't need it in a way.
Mm.
And I do think the film wouldn't change much without it, other than the fact they use him as bait.
Mm.
But I personally don't mind it, and I actually, like, do enjoy it. Because I do like the aspect of you have all these different types of good killers.
Yeah, where they have their own kind of like tactics and stuff.
Yeah, like, I mean, you have, military people, then you have the 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 criminal guy, then you have the cartel guy,
Mm.
you have the Yakuza and stuff, and then you have an actual serial murderer,
Mm.
like a proper, like, psychopath kind of
Essentially,
thing
yeah.
going, which I do like.
Well, I think the one thing that was kind of I did kind of enjoy was the way the Predators sort of their tactics are a lot more interesting in this film compared to like the
Yeah.
previous films where they are a lot more smart. They are smarter, and you can tell because obviously this planet
Yeah.
is used for them to become smarter. Where it's like, right, we'll see how you're gonna work out in this situation. Essentially,
Yeah, it's
you
kind
know.
of like them using them as just. Yeah, I think one of the things as well with the first two, especially the first one, is the fact that since they're on a different planet, they're kind of isolated where they don't have all these tricks or tactics and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Like in Predators, whenever they use the dogs, the Predator dog thing, to, like, just as a wee test for them.
Yeah.
Like,
See
they
what they
can't
do
do
in that
that on
situation.
Earth. Yeah, they don't.
Yeah.
They can't do that on Earth because they can't bring the dogs with them, probably, just in that kind of aspect. But as well as that, whenever they release the other alien from the cages as well, I think is quite a nice. Like, if they did do a sequel, I think that would be a nice way of having multiple, like, different races show up
Yeah.
in a way.
Well, I thought there was gonna be more.
If they were. Yeah, so
There was
did I.
only
I think it was more
two.
of a
There was the
sequel thing,
dogs and
maybe, though.
then the alien that was meant to be the Predator from
Yeah.
the first Predator film.
Yeah, I was gonna say, should we mention that?
Yeah.
So there is a reference in this movie to the original Jean-Claude Van Damme design.
Yeah. He
which
didn't
is
design
the
himself. It was him in the costume.
Oh no, I mean, yeah.
Just to clarify.
The weird bug monster that he was meant to portray.
There's a CGI version
But
of it.
yeah,
It looks alright. I think
And,
it doesn't look bad.
yeah, it looks right. I think it was the fact that it was just running so fast and all. You're like, you
Yeah.
didn't really see it, so
Yeah.
you only saw it whenever it kind of died. But
And
yeah,
there's
that
always
was a
trees
nice
in
wee.
front of it.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice wee nod, though. Like, that was a very nice nod,
Hmm.
and it was something that I actually had to look up before we did this podcast because I was so, like, I was so unsure. I was, like, trying to think, is that a reference or is that not? And then, yeah, I got confirmation. I was like, oh, I knew it.
Yeah. No, because we were discussing this earlier, and I was like, yeah, no. I was gonna say that.
Because that was the point at which we had just ended the previous recording, and I was just about to bring up a question asking if it was, but we never got to it, so I had to wait till today.
But yeah, no, I think I know Predators. Let me think. So, what I was gonna tell you, you know the whole kind of race war going on in that film.
Yes.
There was another idea that was scrapped, which was that the Predators were going to be using the DNA of all these animals that they collected to enhance themselves, to make themselves become, a better life form, essentially.
No.
Which was later used in The Predator.
Yeah, I was going to say that it's a good idea it was a good thing that idea was scrapped. But yeah, I do like the different look of the bigger Predators. The way they actually do have, like, a different facial structure and
Well,
stuff.
that
Like,
it
the
is
jaw
kind
looks
of like a race thing, essentially.
yeah,
like
even looking at the mandibles on the jaw, they look horrifying. Like, they're more like spider legs.
and they're all
than
kind of
mandibles.
red, like very
Yeah.
dark red, completely nearly.
But I do like the fact you don't know that until they take off the helmet.
Yeah,
Because, I mean, Lawrence Fishburne is it?
yeah.
His character does say that, but you don't notice much of a difference in the actual design because they kind of wear the same suits and everything. I do like the fact they'd have like all the bones and stuff on the helmets. Like one of
Yeah,
them
I
has
think
like a
that's
jaw
kind
on the
of
bottom.
yeah. It has like the tusks.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah,
that
I
was a very
think
nice way of doing it.
that was the kind of like the only kind of like giveaway looking back at it that it was like yeah these ones are very kind of like tribal based
Yeah, they don't
and
really
it's almost
care.
like a
They're
religious
just
cult sort of a thing
yeah,
like
less
um
regard for like rules in the actual sport and more doing it for some other not mystical reason, but
yeah like it wasn't this kind of like yeah essentially what you
it
said
wasn't for sport. It was more for like
they
some
wanted to
more
be
divine
better
unknown. Yeah, it
than
was more of
every
a
other predator.
mysterious reason. Yeah,
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 and so that they could
which
beat their own kind
yeah,
essentially. Yeah,
because I mean, the way I look at it as well is like if the predators are like the ultimate killers and stuff like that, if you're able to go above them and be better predators,
yeah. How big a
I
threat
mean,
is that?
yeah,
Hmm.
which I mean. I do like that. That's one thing I will say is it's a nice way of building on the actual culture without just downright explaining everything going on.
Hmm.
Like you get this little contained like race war between them.
Hmm. My only
Like
problem I
instead of
have with it is they just kind of throw it in there, but it's also kind of the fact that this film feels very samey, and I know there's a lot of callbacks to the first film in there, obviously.
oh yeah,
You know, because it
they
had
do
been
mention the first one.
yeah, like it had been like 23 years since you know
Mm, yeah.
that film came out, so obviously you're gonna have to do that kind of a soft reboot kind of thing, like you're saying.
Well, the way I look
But
at it, it's like another way that Star Wars like with the Force Awakens.
oh yeah, well my only problem is the fact that they sort of hadn't. At least Star Wars had done 6 films.
Yeah,
Where this was
yeah, I know
the
what you mean.
third film, where it's like, really, you're running out of ideas this far? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I wish there had been a lot more Predator films in between this that had
Oh
actually happened.
yeah.
Um,
That's something I'm so surprised about the fact that there wasn't.
well, it was mainly because of the video games and comics.
Yeah. Oh, especially the comics.
Mm,
Comics are big.
mm. That's Dark Horse
I never.
comics,
Yeah.
which bled into I think it is Dark Horse, yeah.
I think it is. Yeah.
Because I've
They
I've
usually do
Alien
all them
comics,
ones.
like a hardback of
Oh,
it.
that's
Dark Horse,
sick.
I think. Um, but yeah, no, I don't know about this film. I
Yeah.
think I'll have to rewatch
There's.
it, and that's sort of
I
my.
definitely would say rewatch it. There is a few things that annoy me about it,
Hmm.
like the fact that like in the first film, Arnold kind of figures out. Like in the first film, like they kind of figure out what the nature of the predator is just by the way it's acting and like how it's happened. Like Arnold discovers that it can't see him whenever he's covered in the cold blood because it can't read his body temperature.
Are you going to say you hate the whole exposition, Lawrence Fishburne?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
no, I
going to say
understand
that.
what you mean. Yeah,
I don't like the way that that's how they got most of it. I do
I
like at
think
the
it's just
start they realize. I
yeah.
think it's mostly spent on the start of it, them figuring out that they're being hunted
Well, I
because
think
they
it's
don't
like,
have.
how do you do it without copying the first one? But then
Yeah,
how do you do it? See, I think this is my problem with the race war thing. The only reason you know this is because of
because of Lawrence Fishburne. Yeah.
yeah, because if you just cut him out and then just saw those two predators fighting, you might be like, oh, one of
Oh
them
yeah,
might
you would have
disagree.
got it. I think
Yeah,
there
you
is
know.
enough in the film where you would have understood it. Like,
Yeah.
because there is whenever you see for the first time the predator chained up, you're like, that's very weird to have a predator chained up by other predators.
Yeah.
There must be something going on there, and then you do see later on all that happen. But
It's almost
it's
like being crucified. You know?
yeah, like a sacrifice.
Yeah,
in a
like it
way.
is this religious effigy in a
Yeah.
way. Yeah.
But it's annoying, but I kind of get it because the way I look at it is they have a lot of the figuring out instead of like going to figuring out how the predator works or how they work. It goes more to them figuring out where they are and what's going on
Yeah.
because they don't have that in the first two films because they know they're going into a location they
But
already know.
they sort of get that in the first act.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like
They just
after
get
that, why are they still continuing with this? You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's that they don't know that it's aliens hunting them. In the most of the first act, they just think that they're being hunted by something.
Yeah.
By like maybe I think they think it's like a tribe.
Yeah.
Like they think they're like an Amazonian tribe or something. But then
Well,
whenever they
originally
get
in the
like,
first film, they think it's that small guerrilla group
yeah, they think
that
it's
they
guerrilla
find.
fighters.
Yeah, and then
Yeah,
after that, they're like, oh no, it's not.
yeah. But
You
like
know.
they kind of already know where they are,
Mm.
and they already kind of know a bit of a situation that they can kind of think of. But in this here film, they're just dropped on a planet. Like they have no idea what's going on.
Yeah,
It's just
because
completely random.
I think this film is a very mixed bag.
Yeah,
Like the other
I
two,
will
I
agree
think
with
are
you.
very enjoyable in their own right.
Oh yeah.
But this is the only film I think that is a mixed bag. Because I think everyone kind of agrees that The Predator is shit.
Oh yeah,
So,
it's undeniably terrible. But
yeah,
this film, it's kind of
there's
hit or
some
miss.
interesting ideas in there.
Oh yeah, like
Um,
the thing that I like about it is the thing that I think is good is all the stuff that they do with the predators,
yes.
and then the stuff that isn't really the best is Lawrence. I do like Lawrence Fishburne and all that stuff around his character, but I don't like how he's the way they get the information.
Yeah, it is like a big exposition dump, and he's only in it for
Yeah,
like 10 minutes.
I do love the fact that he's kind of like just gone insane because he's like survived
Yeah.
for so long by hiding. I do like that
I like
aspect
that
when you do have that
concept, yeah.
character, but as well as that, like the way that your man, I can't remember his name. Oh my god.
Adrian
Oh my god, what do
Brody,
you call
or.
it? Adrian Brody, yeah.
Alright,
The
I
way
don't
he
know.
finds out the way he finds out about the infrared thing and the mud is whenever Isabella tells him about the first movie
Hmm.
and about Arnold doing that to survive in the debriefing.
Like, it makes sense because
So you
she's
kinda-
from that area and she knows all the
Yeah.
Predator. Like, that's cool exposition. And it makes
Yeah,
sense as to
I-
why
you know-
the Predator would scout that area. Because that's
Yeah.
where a Predator came from. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I would, there was one thing though in that movie that I was going through because there was one thing I couldn't remember if it happened or not. But I was going through the whole movie like, oh, don't tell me she's the daughter of Anna from the first movie.
Oh, I was
I
waiting
was-
for that. I'm not
I
even
was waiting
joking,
for
I
that as
agree.
well, especially
Yeah.
whenever they brought that up. I was like, oh
I thought
no,
that's
she's
what they
gonna
were
be the
gonna
daughter
do.
of them.
Yeah.
You know what I think they were gonna do? Because you know where there's a big sequel bait. I think they were going to do that in the second film.
Mm.
Because I think it makes too much sense if she
Yeah.
was the daughter of them two. Like,
Well, it makes sense why they would get her then.
yeah, like that's a big target.
Like, I'm surprised, oh, yeah. Sorry, this is weird, but there was, a deleted concept, mate. Concept that got deleted where
no.
the ending was going to be them two going out and then a spaceship was going to appear. It was going to be a ton of aliens, like, partying and stuff. Like, predators, sorry. Partying,
Yeah.
right? And it was going to be Arnold and, like tribal gear being like, yeah, cool, you did it. Yeah, so thank God that got fucking deleted. Like, but I think
I
that's
would have loved to
also-
see that.
That would have been funny. But I think it's
That
kind of
would've
weird the
been
fact that he's never cropped up. He's come
Yeah.
back to the Terminator franchise for every single
Yeah.
film. Every single Terminator film.
It's the
You
thing
know.
that they mention him. I can't remember if I think they do mention the Spec Ops team in the Predator.
Ah,
but they mention him
probably,
in
yeah.
they mention him in Predator 2 and then Predators,
You
which
know.
I think is very weird.
It is strange that he's never returned, and I'm very,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know. We move on to the Predator. Right, we'll talk
I
about
don't
the
really
Predator.
want to, but yeah.
But loosely, we'll talk about that for not too long, and then we'll end with.
Can I
Predator
just ask
5.
one more thing about the Predators?
Oh yeah. Go on.
What did you think of the action in it compared to the other two?
I enjoyed it
Like action
because it was
fights.
different.
Yeah.
I think all three of these films have been different action wise. Where the first one is this, 80s action film, kind of war Vietnam-esque kind of film. Whereas
then the
two was like
second
a
one's
cop
like a
film.
90s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
classic cop film, right?
Yeah.
Your Lethal Weapons or whatever, right?
Yeah.
This one is more. How'd you describe it?
It's more modern action.
Modern guerrilla
Yeah.
in a way.
Where you have these units behind enemy lines.
Mm.
It's very grounded.
Yeah.
The kind of sort of it is more of a far more like modern take on it, which I think is quite cool in a way where you do get these different eras.
Mm.
Like you can get the gist of what that era of movies was just by watching the Predator
Oh
movies.
yeah, like it's such a 2010 film.
Yeah.
You know, like, not that that's a bad thing. It's just it's such a
Oh
nice
yeah.
collection of that time, essentially.
It's a shame we didn't get a 2000s film.
Well,
We
we
skipped a
did,
decade. Shut up.
and they were a product of their time.
Yeah, I
um,
completely forgot about those movies. But I was happy that they managed to pull off a yakuza fighting a predator with a samurai sword, and it wasn't. It was actually great.
oh yeah,
It
we're
wasn't like a big. It wasn't something that happens and you're like, oh
yeah,
god, that's just laughable. It's something that happens. You're like, oh
and it's
yeah,
all in
this
the
is cool.
grass,
Yeah,
and it's
it's
pretty
very
cool.
cool.
And then
And then they kind of kill
obviously,
each other.
yeah, I say that's the only ending that kind of worked.
Oh
Where
yeah.
it's like, oh yeah, cool, they both do it. Yeah,
It's ver-
nice. You know.
it's a very like a Japanese kind of moment in the film.
Oh, it's very kind of like
Especially the
Akira
setting.
Kurosawa inspired.
Yeah,
Where it's like
where
they're
it's
in
like
the
the two.
field, where it's like
Yeah, I
at
was gonna say
night, the
it's like
moonlight.
two samurai fighting in
Oh
a
yeah,
field.
two
Like,
warriors that respect each other.
yeah,
Essentially, like, yeah.
it's kind of like a parallel to Billy in the first movie whenever he goes against
Yeah.
the predator with the machete.
Hmm. Oh yeah, that's one of the
But yeah.
many parallels I imagine.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
like, this one's full of them.
Oh yeah. The Predator.
Anyway, yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there.
We'll just
again.
quickly get this. This is a bad film.
It's
We recommend
dreadful.
you never watch it.
Yeah, don't even think about watching it.
Well, we didn't even
Don't even
bother
let.
rewatching it for this.
Oh no, I'm just going off like a couple of years worth of memories. Like I
Because actually, I think we're going to be
repressed.
very nice. Because I think
Mem-
we'd probably hate it more if we watched it now.
Oh, we would, especially after you watching those other movies.
Oh yeah.
I think Predators would look like The Godfather 1
Yeah.
compared to this movie, but yeah, it's
Such a
just
bad
dreadful.
film in every way.
Which is quite shocking for who directed it.
Shane Black.
Because yeah, it
He
was
was off the
directed by
heels of
Shane
some
Black.
big films as well.
Yeah.
Off the heels of Iron Man 3, off the heels of The Nice Guys, you know.
Yeah.
And then he's back in with this, and everyone was like, this has to be a good film. There's no way this can't be a
Well,
bad film. And then
for
it was a
anyone that
bad
has-
film.
Yeah, for anyone that's not seen them and wants a wee bit of clarification, Shane Black plays a character in the first one. I can't remember his name,
Hmm.
but he's the guy with the glasses, and he's the first one to die out of the group. That's about it.
No, he's not, is he?
Yeah, he's the first one to die to the Predator in that group. Because he's
You're right,
talking,
yeah.
I think, because whenever
Mm,
Anna
yeah.
runs away, he runs after her, and then
Mm.
the Predator gets him. That's the first death.
Well, do you know why he was cast
Why?
in that first film?
Was he also like one of the screenwriters for that?
Well, this is why he was cast. He was there to make. Cause
Yeah.
He was hired only because he could make quick rewrites. So that's why they put him in the film.
Yeah.
So they were like,
Yeah.
we may as well put him in. You know, he'll do that as well.
Yeah.
Sure.
'Cause I thought I thought he was one of the screenwriters on it,
No, it was probably because of the
Yeah.
rewrites. Because that film had so many.
and that's why everyone was so excited for the Predator because
Yeah,
he was involved with the first one. I remember thinking
there is hope.
it was kind of a similar. It was a similar situation that we had with the Rise of Skywalker, the Star
Oh,
Wars film.
dear.
Well, going into it, we thought there's no way this could be bad.
Hmm.
That was my exact thoughts
Except,
going into this movie as well.
I didn't say to you that I said before episode 9 where I was like, oh, imagine it's just shit.
Yeah. Especially because I didn't watch many of the trailers to this movie whenever it came out,
Mm.
so I didn't really know what was going to happen. I just knew, it's
Well,
another
there was a
movie.
leaked script that many people read and everyone laughed
Yeah.
at because like, oh, there's no way
I
this is
think-
true. And then it
yeah.
came out and I was like, oh, this is true.
See, I didn't even know about that
Yeah.
until like a couple of weeks ago whenever you told me. But there was just so much wrong with this movie. It was just dreadful.
Oh, in every way imaginable.
Between they tried to do another race war with the Predators,
Yeah.
but it was done terribly compared to Predators.
Mm-hmm.
They brought back the Predator dogs, but they were terribly designed
Yeah.
because they looked nothing like the Predator dogs, and they looked more like the Super Mutant Hounds from Fallout 4.
Yeah. It is an
Everything
awful film
about
in
it
every
was
way.
terrible.
No, but everyone's bad.
Even,
the
like-
acting's bad. The writing's bad.
Yeah. Like, there's no. like there's no. The way I look at it is you can't connect with any of the main heroes. The main villain's a joke because he's that bad, and he dies in one. I think he dies in like a frame of the movie because I
Yeah.
think one because he isn't it he puts on the predator cannon and it just unlocks his head
Yeah.
and kills him in like a
Yeah.
frame shot. Yeah, it's just so bad. The entire premise is bad. Like I don't like the fact that they're using human DNA to better themselves because the whole point is should be they are hunting other species to better
Yeah.
themselves. It's the whole point
It's
of
all
why
about
they
skills,
hunt.
not genetics.
Yeah, they're honing their skills by hunting these different species. They don't take the DNA and use it to increase their genetic code or structure or whatever.
Mm.
I'm sorry, I'm going to get quite mad.
Well, just
I
everything about
hate
the
this
film is
movie so much.
atrocious. This is why I just was
Yeah.
like, I don't want to talk about this film for long because there's nothing to talk about. There's
It's not
actually
even worth
nothing to
talking
talk
about.
about this film. Like,
It's you're better spending your time trying to repress your memories if you've seen this movie than actually talk about or think about this movie.
well, it's bad
That's
that
how
it's
much I hate about it.
worse than the two Alien vs Predator movies.
Yeah,
It's worse than the worst
No,
Alien movie.
I've
Like,
never
what the
seen
fuck
those
does
movies.
That say?
like I've not seen Alien 3 or 4 or the Alien versus Predator movies yet, but I already know it's worse
not
than
as
them.
bad. They're not as bad.
And I know, yeah, and I know that they're meant to be
I've
quite
showed
bad.
you the Alien from Alien Resurrection,
Yeah.
David, and you
And
already
it's
know.
still, and I think it's a better design and better practical look than the big alien or the big predator in this movie, and
the
even the
CG.
predator dog. Like, why did like whenever your woman shoots the predator
yeah.
hound and it gets like a fucking lobotomy and just starts
I know.
wandering, I don't understand and I don't want to understand anymore.
It's one of these things that I know. I know Adam's a big kind of guy for acknowledging sequels and films, and I can understand why you'd be like, "Oh, we'll just continue it and just like, slightly acknowledge it," right?
That's something I do disagree with him on a lot, though.
Well, this is one example where I'm like, this no, you can skip this.
This
You-
needs to be scrubbed. From
Yeah,
the
yeah,
records.
you can just make it just
This
not
never
exist
happened.
whatsoever. Because like,
Yeah.
like when it comes to the Alien franchise, I'm like, fuck it, yeah,
That-
they'll all be canon. That's fine. I don't really
Yeah,
care
but-
too much.
Because the Alien movies are on a bigger, they're on a broader scale because it's dealing with all these different planets. It's dealing with like all these civilizations throughout the universe. So they're kind of self-contained stories, and except for maybe I don't know about 3 and 4, but like you can have them self-contained to a degree,
Yeah,
from what I understand.
but not when
So
this
if one
is
of them's-
such a direct reference
Yeah,
to
it's like-
everyone that's basically come out nearly.
I'm going to make a comparison here, and you're probably not going to like it, but it's kind of like Transformers.
God.
No, not like the way I'm comparing it is the way that it's a continual story. But whenever they do something like, you know, whenever we came out of watching the last night and we both said, I think I said anyway, I don't know if you did, like that ruined my childhood because it just destroys all the previous movies because of the fact that it is a continuous story, it's all in the same universe. What has been done cannot be undone. I get that.
It is
feeling with the-
irreversible in a way.
yeah, what they've done with the Predator has tarnished the other movies in a way.
Yeah.
Unless they do another movie and just have make unless they like retcon it
Well, this is
in
what I'm
another
saying.
movie.
This film is.
But that's why.
This new film coming
Yeah,
out is
that-
The Last Hope.
Yeah, I just wanted to say as well, like, to kind of finish off this little point I'm having, that's why the Alien movies work. I don't want to keep this going too long, but that's why they work, because they're so self-contained, where one of them
Yeah.
can do something completely stupid and outlandish, but you can just ignore it.
Because it's just, it's on that planet, fuck it.
Like you know the prequels. If you don't like the prequels, you can just pretend like they never happened, that it doesn't
Yeah.
change anything.
They're prequels.
Yeah.
You know.
Anyway, I could sit and rant
Well,
about
no,
this for
I do want to say
about
this
another
one
20
thing.
minutes, but I don't want to.
I do say this one thing. I did not say it ruined my childhood. I said it ruined cinema. I said Transformers
Yeah,
last night
'cause-
ruined cinema, David. Get it right.
Yeah, well, my reaction was I came home after watching that movie. My parents asked me how it was, and my direct response and all I said to them about it was, it ruined my childhood, and I wish I'd never seen it.
I don't know
But
why I
anyway, I
keep
kinda-
watching them.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's a story for another time.
We'll talk about the Transformers movies in
No, we're
another
not.
episode.
We're not talking about the Transformers films, dude. Because I'm not sitting through fucking 15 hours of Michael Bay tripe.
Well, have you
Just to-
seen Bumblebee?
Yes, you know my opinion on
Okay.
Bumblebee. We'll move
Yeah,
on.
I hate your opinion on Bumblebee because I think it's the only good
I
one.
think it's just a very average film, but we'll
See,
move
I
on.
disagree because I love it.
No, but I think this is my problem. No, we're not talking about this. This is just gonna be a big tangent. This is how it happens. Right, we'll move on. We're already on an hour and 20 minutes. I'm not having a
Come
time.
back next week and we'll be talking about Bumblebee.
No, we won't. We're talking about me and Adam. We're talking about Amazing Spider-Man. Anyways, to sort of wrap up here,
Yes.
Predator 5, Skulls.
Mm-hmm.
What you don't know, but what I do know is, and well, this is one thing you do know. It's the new Predator film, Predator 5 or Skulls, will be based around and set during the first predator hunt on Earth, and it will be set in primal times.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for that.
I just realised we actually never brought up any of the time stuff. That we
Oh no,
usually
well I
talk
was
about with
hoping to
this.
bring it up,
Yeah,
with
that's
this
a nice
topic.
way to bring it up. Yeah,
but I'm very excited for that. Because
because
it's such a good time to do it. Primal times.
yeah, because just to give everyone a wee bit of insight, me and you have talked about this a lot before.
Yeah.
Is the fact that with the Predator movies, you could do because especially with Predator 2, because I kind of give a big hint to it. It's
With
the fact
the
that you
flintlock
know that
pistol. Yeah.
yeah, had what like 17, 15,
17, 11 or something like that, yeah.
something like that. So it had like whenever Danny Glover kills the Predators reward him with a flintlock pistol that Predator or similarly some other Predator got from someone they killed on Earth as a trophy, which gives a great hint as to that they have been hunting on Earth for a very long time. Which begs the question of why haven't they done any other movies in different time periods like they could? Like you could do like a medieval one, you could do a pirate one, like, you know, the comic
Yeah.
where they get the pistol. You could do anything throughout history, and I'm glad that they are doing that a bit now.
Oh, I'm glad that
it's
they're going back in
fantastic.
time. Because this is the first time they're
Yeah.
going back in time.
Yeah.
Which I'm very excited for. Because like the flintlock pistol, I think is probably one of my favourite stories where it's about this pirate captain and he gets mutinied and then he's basically the predator's hunting him and wants to like kill him, right? And then all his crew kill him. The predator sees this and he's just like, oh fuck, that was my guy. So he murders all the people that killed, like he murders the entire crew of the captain
Yeah.
because they killed the captain, and he takes his flintlock pistol out of respect for what could have been a combatant, you know.
Yeah.
Which I kind of like. It's something like you see that the predators respect other warriors.
Yeah.
In that kind of way, like
It's also a case of the fact that you could have predators that have different ways of respecting. Like the predator of the first movie could have his way of respecting as, you know, removing the spine and the head.
yeah,
Whether that predator could have had it as taking a trophy from them. It's the fact that nothing is set in stone with how they deal with people, which is what I like about the movies, because you have all these different interpretations, especially between the first three, of how they operate. Which I think is great because they never, and I love this about it, is the fact that they never over explain it, and nothing is ever set in stone with how they interact with people and their targets.
yeah.
Everything can change between the different predators, but it's never big drastic changes, which I think is great.
And I'm very excited for this new one called Skulls.
Yeah, that'd be great.
No, I'm hoping this will be good. It sounds good. Setting wise, straight away, I think there's the guy who's directing it has been working on it since 2016, so I
really?
have a bit of hope for this one, if you know what I mean. But yeah,
That's
I think that's sort of
Yeah.
that's us kind of
Again,
wrapped up, isn't it?
this is another one of them subjects where we could honestly be here another hour to
Yeah, we've
talking
kinda
about
had to
each film.
Stop
We
ourselves.
have to limit ourselves.
Well, I think we'll come back to this.
Oh, we could.
We'll
We could
probably
do
even
whenever-
reference it again. You know, Alien vs Predator, Aliens episode.
Or even whenever we get more confirmation on the new movie. We could do
Or even when
another
the new
episode
movie
where we
comes
just-
out, and we'll do a reprise of this essentially.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
could always do another episode where we just talk about the stuff we missed, or even if we re-watch them again and come to any more realizations.
Oh yeah, well, because like this film's coming out next year, so I'd say we'll be getting
Oh,
another
yeah.
episode next year, hopefully. But yeah, no, that's
Very
been
interesting.
the Predator franchise summed up essentially. And our
Yeah,
thoughts on it.
so first three, well, Predators maybe hit or miss for some people. First two are amazing.
Yep.
Predators I love. Alex doesn't. Don't even
Mixed
think
bag.
about watching the
Yeah.
Don't even think
Skip
about going
it.
anywhere near the Predator.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you to Buzzsprout for hosting, as always. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at State Podcast. The State Podcast. And once again, don't bother with Twitter. And we'll be back next week. Well, I'll be back next week with Adam. And we'll be talking about The Amazing Spider-Man. Dear God. So,
God, let me just...
yeah. So, thank you for listening.